Hey guys, so for the new YouTube channel, what I've decided to do for each of the NVQs, I'm going to go through one unit at a time and just like explain some of the criteria just to give you an idea of what we're looking for, right? So I'll keep these as short as possible as well, right? But let's have a look first of all at the 2346 NVQ experienced worker or the 5357 NVQ. They're exactly the same. So all the units are the same, and unit 102 is the health and safety unit for the 2346 and the 5357. Okay. These will be assessed on two occasions, and they will be assessed by observation, which means it'll be one occasion where an assessor will come out to actual site to see you on site, and a second occasion where we will assess you over a platform like Zoom or Google Meet or something like that, right? So let's just have a quick look now at the criteria. So the ends here on one file, one occasion, two occasion. That's how it works, right? So what are the type of things that we're going to be looking for? So unit 102, it's all public information, guys. So there's no cloak and daggers going on here, right? Nothing behind the scenes. So we're looking for the first bit of criteria here. It says we've got to assess it on two occasions. So we will do it on each assessment. And this is all about risk assessments of method statements and safe systems of work. So we'll cover things like risk assessments, method statements, permits to work, etc. Right? And this won't be you're just going to show us a risk assessment. It'll be showing a risk assessment and demonstrating that you know a bit about it. Like you know how many steps there are. There's 5 steps to a risk assessment. What are them steps? Show me a hazard in the workplace and how you intend to mitigate those hazards. And how does that tie in with your risk assessment? Tell me the difference between a risk assessment and a method statement, for example, right? They've got a different purpose, haven't they? So a method statement's more for the actual task in hand, and a risk assessment's for the site risks. Okay. So that's what that first box is all about, right? That's 102.1, right? 102.2, the next thing we come on, identify unsafe situations. Well, if we've done the risk assessment really well, and you've already covered that, right? And again, assessing the work environment. This section is all about tools, materials, and equipment, right? So it's handling potentially hazardous tools, materials, and equipment. So really speaking there, they want to know your knowledge about COSH, storage of hazardous materials, and checks you do on tools, power tools, chop saws, things like that, right? High risk hazards. I mean, hopefully we're not going to see any high risk hazards on site. However, this is something we can talk about. What would you do if you've seen a high risk hazard? You'd barrier off, you'd call a supervisor, etc. Right? And that ties in with that one, really. Apply measures to control health and safety, and selecting the correct PPE. Now, this is a great one, right? You don't have to wear 5-point PPE when we come and do an assessment. If you're on a site and all you're required to have is work boots and a polo shirt, happy days. One big thing I pick everybody up on all the time, guys, is knee pads. If I see someone on an assessment on their knees on the floor and they're not wearing knee pads, we're going to fail our assessment, because got to protect your knees, all right? And that's not just for NVQ, that's like real life as well. I've wrecked my knees and don't want you doing the same, all right? So just make sure it's the correct PPE for the task you're doing. Doesn't have to go bulletproof, all right? 102.3 then, conduct and behaviour around sites, quite easy, walkways, not running around like a lunatic type of thing. Maintenance of tools, so tools checks, both for hand tools and power tools, workplace policies, site boards, anything like that, really. Suppliers information and manufacturers instructions can be for tools, materials, equipment, etc. Comply with information, warning signs, mandatory signs, prohibition notices. So what we're going to look for there is that for example, if I would say something like a blue sign with a white background, what group of signs does that belong to? And you would answer mandatory and point a mandatory sign out, maybe, okay? Apply procedures to ensure the safety of the work location through the correct use of guards and barriers. How do you stop unauthorized people entering the workspace? And you're just going to demonstrate that then. And then access equipment. So we've got to assess 2 access equipments, guys, okay? So we can pick from 4: ladder, tower, scaffolding or mute, step ladder, and platform. So maybe in observation 1, you'd want to use a ladder. Maybe in observation 2, a step ladder. Maybe you've got a step ladder and a hop up, and you can do them both in observation 1. Get them over with. Easy peasy, right? And then for the environmental part of this unit, guys, all it is, they just want some information about one of these acts, right? So you've got Environmental Protection Act, Hazardous Waste Regulations, Pollution Prevention Control Act, Control of Pollution Act, Control of Noise at Work Regulations, or the Environment Act. So pick one of them. For example, you could pick the Control of Noise at Work Regulations. You're going to tell us what year it was released, if it was ever modified, if so, what year, what are the daily exposure limits, what are the maximum exposure limits, and just give me about another 8 or 10 facts in bullet point fashion, if you want, from that act, just to show me that you've revised that act. And that's it, guys. That's Unit 102 for the 5357 and 2346, both done by direct observation. One observation will be on site with an assessor, according to the rules.